What's up, everyone? This is Ray, and with me is Khan, and this is another episode of Part-Time Nerds, episode 7.
And that's why Ray will never be allowed to do another intro again.
Okay.
You're out of control, man.
I mean, a lot of YouTubers inspired me with pretty cool, unique intro, and I just wanted to try it out.
Yeah,
with that type of voice,
Yeah, but the problem with that is you're not being unique anymore.
Hey, you got me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, episode 7. Apologies for this week because again we will be doing a gaming topic. Part-time gamers.
I mean, part-time.
We can't. Oh, by the way, we can't say part-time gamers anymore. That's apparently a different podcast that's already been running for a while. Just between you and me. Shh.
We're more of an expansive.
Part-time nerds is in no way affiliated with part-time gamers.
You're trying to do the rapid voice thing? I don't know. I like that disclaimer.
Yeah. Yep. So we're going to go roll that. Okay. Anyways, like I said, we're going to do another gaming topic because that kind of just piqued our interest this week. What we're going to talk about this week, I don't know how long this is going to take, but we want to do a history of gaming controllers / input methods.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just our experiences with all the controllers of the past, consoles, or any type of input, like you said.
Yeah, we were struggling to think about a topic this morning, so we were just throwing across ideas, and this one kind of caught our interest. We started talking about it. I was like, well, no, we got to stop. We're wasting good material.
We're wasting good material here, guys.
Well, we don't know if it's good yet or not. We're wasting material.
I can guarantee you that it could be decent to
10 out of 10.
Okay, that's 10 out of 10. But yeah, at least for me, I was getting a little nostalgic, and that's why I wanted to talk about these old controllers of the past.
Yes, because going back to episode 3 when we started talking about our first experience with gaming, with the Nintendo 64 and the SNES, we really started talking this conversation about controllers, and unfortunately we had to steer away from it due to the nature of the topic.
Yeah, the nature of the topic was, Nintendo Switch, but obviously we were talking about Nintendo history
and
leading
so now
up to it.
We want to do a little deep diver into it, so let's just go right into it.
All right.
Just to establish a certain timeline, since I started out with the SNES, do you want to cover the NES at all, controller?
Yeah, we can start with that because that was one of the first gaming consoles I played because it was my mom's.
Okay.
She got it as a Christmas present. So as a kid, I played with Mario and Duck Hunt.
Okay, that's good. You're going to have to start with that one because in all honesty, I don't think I've ever actually held an NES controller.
I mean, it's sharp. It's just a sharp rectangle. Maybe you'll like it. It's like an Xperia.
It's like an Xperia. Damn it.
But yeah, exactly. It's just an Xperia.
Okay, go ahead.
You want to start with it? Yeah, the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, Famicom in Japan. The controller was just a traditional controller.
Was
old
there
D-pad and then A and B button.
Was there a difference between the Famicom and the North American controllers?
Ooh, other than the color and the aesthetic, I'm not sure if the button layout was different.
Yeah, because
I don't think it was. I think it's just a color scheme.
The Famicom controllers had like kind of the current Google colors for their buttons.
Oh yeah. No, that was on the Super side, right? The Famicom had the golden red type of thing.
Oh, did it? Okay, never mind. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, but other than that, I just remember playing on the NES, the controller's just really sharp on your hands.
It didn't have triggers, right?
No triggers, just like D-pad, A button, B button, and then start, select.
Sharp, uncomfortable?
Sharp and uncomfortable. I mean, you didn't need much. A lot of the games back then were just platformers, 2D side-scrollers, Mario, Duck Hunt with the peripheral, obviously, and then Metroid. Those were the games I played on the NES.
That's right, there was a Metroid on the NES.
The original Metroid.
Yeah,
it's so hard as a kid.
Well, I'm sure it's hard now. I never touched an NES pretty much for an extended amount of time. I probably think it's way before my time, and I don't think I would ever be able to beat any of those games.
Yeah, it was that thing came out in the 80s.
People were built of harder stuff than we are.
But so you never played it at all? Like you never got your hands on the controller and the console itself?
I don't think so.
Oh, man. All right, I mean, that's pretty much it. I didn't have much of experience of it either because it was my mom's. So when we just dug it up from the garage, I just played it with my brother for a little bit, and then that was the end of it. So let's move on.
How often did you play that thing? Or was it just like you tried it out for a couple of hours on a weekend?
I just tried it for a couple of hours on the weekend. But that's actually after I had my hands on my first true console, the N64.
Okay, so you were already like into the gaming world.
Started into gaming, and then my mom was like, "Oh, look at this! This is what I was using. I got it for Christmas."
Damn, Mom, you are old.
Damn, Mom.
Don't tell her that.
But yeah, let's get to the SNES.
Okay, well, the SNES was my first controller, really. And to a certain degree, I feel like that controller has yet to be beaten in certain aspects. Because, again, same sort of layout as the NES, but then now they set like a curvature on the controller so it doesn't bite into your knuckles.
You can actually play for a long, extended period of time without...
Yeah, and that's the nature of gaming is we're going to sit there for hours and hours and keep going on it.
Yeah,
so.
as long as the game's good, You damn well right.
Oh, and the thing that we didn't mention about the NES is there was only two face buttons, A and B, right?
Yeah, A and B.
A and B. So on the SNES controller, obviously, for the most part, I'm sure all the listeners know there's 4 face buttons on it, and they added a set of triggers. I'm not really sure if there were any games that utilized the triggers.
First of all, you call it the SNES. I want to get that out of the way. Are you? You're a SNES guy.
I call it the SNES.
All right. I know that's a topic of discussion here.
Yeah, some people are really
SNES.
bothered by that. Okay, here's my problem with the term SNES.
Too long or what?
It's not any shorter than saying Super Nintendo.
Oh no, yeah, I understand.
Well, it's barely longer than. What's the point of an acronym?
But you want to sound dumb saying SNES? I mean, you have 2 options. You could say SNES and not be lazy, or sound dumb saying SNES.
I was just a kid, right?
Oh, you just okay. I didn't know I was gonna go this way. I thought you were gonna fight back.
I grew up saying SNES. I'm sorry.
I'll blame your friends then.
No, SNES sounds cool to me.
SNES?
Yeah.
Like a snail? Like what is?
Yeah, SNES.
SNES.
That's what it is.
The Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
It takes more time to say SNES than it does saying Super Nintendo.
You're right, but you don't sound dumb when you say it. That's the difference.
What's the point of an acronym if it takes longer to say the actual phrase?
SNES. SNES.
Right, this is more of a utility.
No, SNES is slow.
Right, we've
slow
had
like a snail.
We've had so many conversations about, utility or function over, aesthetics.
Yep. Hashtag Google Pixel 2.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on the utility end of this argument, so what's the problem? SNES. It's faster to say, it's nice, it's childish, it brings back memories.
Yeah, childish, exactly.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We're talking about nostalgia here.
It's a mark of my childhood.
Oh my goodness.
So we're in agreement here. I'm right, you're wrong.
No, SNES sounds dumb. SNES is the way to go.
Sounds dumb. All right, fine. Personal preference, fine. But I will continue to call it.
But then at the same time, I never actually played.
I want to be clear. I don't say SNES. I say SNES.
With a Z?
Yeah, SNES.
Well, like, what are you, Dragon Ball Fighter Z or Dragon Ball Fighters? Like, what are you? Oh,
yeah, SNES.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, fine. The Super Nintendo.
Okay, but yeah, let's get back to the controller itself.
I don't remember what I was saying. Thank you.
No, you were talking about how they added more face buttons.
They added face buttons. They added triggers.
It felt more comfortable in the hand.
Definitely. It's definitely more ergonomic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, ergonomic.
See, I can be an adult. These are my choices, Ray.
I use big words.
I've been told that I talk like an old person sometimes.
I mean, you don't get carded when you get beer now, right? So you are an old guy.
No. Well, thank you for that.
The energy has been brought down.
I want to make it clear Ray is older and he gets carded, so who's the real baby over here?
You are. You say SNES.
SNES.
I'm an adult. SNES.
It's a SNES.
Yeah, continue with the
you know what? No, I don't want to. This is over. Last episode.
Oh, okay, last episode. Mark it. March what?
No, we can't. Shut up. We can't date the podcast.
We can't?
No.
Cut it out.
No, because people are going to know that we're, a certain amount of time behind between release.
No. Hopefully things work out, and then this syncs up with the other latter dates.
Well, no.
No?
No.
All right, cut that out.
I always want a buffer. At a certain point, we're going to need to take a weekend off. I'm sorry.
Not because I want to. It's because you're just tired.
Because I'm an adult.
You're an adult.
I'm an adult. I don't have time.
Other things to do.
I don't have time to say SNES. I say SNES.
This isn't a job. It's a hobby.
It's a part-time job.
Part-time job. But yeah, let's get back to the controller. SNES.
SNES. I'm saying SNES. I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
Damn. Anyways.
Because you know it's wrong. That's why you're having a difficult time saying it. But yeah, keep going.
Till the end of my days, until I find something better, I will argue that the SNES, as you say, has the best D-pad out of any controller.
No, I think I agree.
Period.
It truly improves on the NES. I already know the NES felt great on those 4 directions, and then the SNES just...
Yeah, and I want to say the SNES is the last generation to do the D-pad as the main method of directional movement. Because in the generation after that's when we got introduced to analog sticks. Mm-hmm. And I'm not arguing that analog sticks are bad. Analog sticks are a really good use case for the most part.
But why can't we have both?
And we do have both now-ish.
But
we'll get into that. But again, I'll go your. The SNES has the best D-pad because it is a continuous T. There's no breaks or anything in between. So the leaning movements are correct and very
accurate.
And the most important thing, which is what Nintendo's missing these days, is that the D-pad is on a central pivot.
Okay. Accuracy is key.
Yeah, the central pivot is what lets you rock back and forth on the D-pad as opposed to clicking down the entire T. And that's the problem with misinputting on D-pads currently. And, Nintendo is getting back to that. Their Pro Controller doesn't have the central pivot. But the Xenoblade Chronicles, is that the name of the game?
Are you talking about it? Okay. Yeah.
The Xenoblade
the 3DS
version.
game?
Yeah, the 3DS, or no.
Oh, no, the
Switch game.
I forgot about it. that's how the game just flew by everybody.
Yeah, the special edition Pro controller for that game has a central pivot.
Really?
And it makes all the difference in the world.
They made a unique Pro controller for that game specifically?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not one of their biggest games, is it? I don't know. You're the Switch owner. You tell me.
They were marketing it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were marketing it to be. I just don't know if it's sold as well as they wanted it to.
It's not the stealthiest controller, but I think it looks nice. It's black base, but it's got like it's got a little bit of a hot pink accents on the part that your hands hold. But
it's a Pro controller with an improved D-pad?
Yes.
Wow, I gotta look into that. You should have told me before. All right, that's cool. I understand.
I thought I have told you before.
No, you never did, but that's fine. You find out a lot of things on these podcasts,
Yeah, like I say SNES. Yeah, I swear I've used SNES to you before and you never corrected me.
I just didn't want to hurt your feelings, but now I can do it publicly.
I feel great. You wanted to publicly shame me.
No, but back to the D-pad. It makes sense why the D-pad on the SNES felt so great. Mm-hmm. Games focused on 2D.
Yep.
So they made sure the D-pad felt great. And once they transitioned to 3D, they focused on another input method with the analog stick.
Yeah, because horses for courses.
Yeah. 2D took a back seat from that.
Unfortunately, because actually, I think the reason why D-pads got so much worse is that Nintendo actually had a patent on the solid T D-pad.
That's crazy.
All the other companies were not allowed to use a solid T. Mm-hmm. So that's why there was always these weird variations where, you cut the T's into separate buttons, or, you remove the center part. It's still a pivot, but, there's plastic in the way. Or the biggest offender of all, we'll really dive into this one, the 360 controller.
Oh.
Worst D-pad in history.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
But the SNES, best D-pad ever. And to this day, I will still argue it is the best D-pad. And that, for me, got personally confirmed when I got my SNES Classic.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I got back to playing Donkey Kong. Oh my god, this D-pad is so freaking clean.
Oh my god.
Everything that goes wrong is my fault. There's no misinputting.
There's no misinput.
Yeah. Because, back in the day before the Nintendo Classic controllers, I can't dive into this because I don't know for legal purposes or not. I was playing around with certain methods on the PC that will remain unnamed.
I don't understand what you're talking about. Can you please elaborate more on this method?
I was playing an officially licensed 2D game on my PC, and I wanted to use a controller with a solid D-pad, and there were no options out there because at the time Nintendo still owned the patent on the solid
crazy.
T, and there did not exist a single controller that had a good D-pad that matched up to the SNES.
Look at them. They're looking forward as a business.
Luckily for us, in recent years, Nintendo's let that patent go free market. So that's why in the last few years, controllers have gotten really
D-pad's gotten better.
D-pads.
Even, third parties and everything. That's good.
Yeah, the 360 era was probably the dark age.
That was bad.
It was the dark age when it came to D-pads, but that's kind of my thoughts on the SNES. We'll maybe hop back to it. Maybe yes, maybe no, but...
Yeah, but other than this point, also the color scheme on the SNES. Green, purple, I like that.
Yeah, it's just... I like that, man. It's still classic.
And then on the Japanese side, the color scheme... Even better, the one you were alluding to before.
The Famicom.
Yeah. Oh, that looked good.
Yeah, the Google colors.
Yeah, that looked good. You didn't like it?
I don't know. I like the purple and gray more.
Oh, man.
But in all honesty, I think it's beautiful to us because we love that classic Super Nintendo so much.
Yeah, that's true.
I think in a closed, case, we would say purple and gray is a terrible color scheme.
I don't know. It looks pretty good to me.
Okay, fine.
No, you got to commit. You got to commit. That's the best color scheme.
I love it.
I love it.
But back
to
the
I gotta have it.
Gotta have it. Have it your way, Ray.
It was my idea.
This podcast is not sponsored by Burger King. But you wanted to touch on the Famicom colors. I want to say Famicom's color was the same as Google's current icon colors right now: green, blue, red, and yellow.
Yellow. On the Japanese
Those
side.
were the buttons.
Yeah.
Controller shape was the same?
I think yeah.
I know the main system, the Super Famicom, looked actually completely different design than the Super NES, but the controller is the same except for the colors of the buttons.
It was pretty much the color scheme that differed.
Yeah, well, I like the purple and gray more.
Yeah, because that's what you grew up with, playing with. Makes sense.
No, it is objectively better.
No, I like green purple. I want to get that mechanical. After this podcast, I'm gonna look at that.
Given the choice right now, pick a side. Would you pick the purple and gray or the Famicom colors?
Purple and gray.
There you go.
USA.
All
USA.
the way.
USA.
Halfway
all
Laker.
the way. Halfway. Exactly. I think it's the purple that really gets it for me.
Yep.
Because I'm a Laker fan, so the purple just, you get that dark, nice, royal purple just,
Yeah, the king.
The king.
No.
Oh, no. No king.
Nope.
I mean, if...
Mamba.
What if he comes to LA? Mamba mentality.
mentality.
The Kobe system.
But again, back to the Super Famicom. They do have one advantage over the SNES.
What is that?
Because I can call it the Super Fam.
Super fan, where you at?
What up, Spam? How do you feel about the shortening term Spam?
I'm fine with it, fam.
But you won't do SNES.
No, SNES. Because I've
Okay,
never
did you
heard that
ever-
before until I was actually around this age. I'm like, SNES?
Did you ever call the NES the NES?
No, because it always reminded me of Ness the character.
And well, sometimes certain people would call it NES, and then when the Super Nintendo came out, that's why we transitioned to SNES.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, next topic.
Wait. Other than the D-pad though, how did everything else felt great? Even the buttons
were
the
solid.
button feedback, and
Yes,
the
because
triggers itself.
This is a very Nintendo thing.
Yeah.
Very Nintendo specific. I don't know if any other controllers have ever done this, but I don't have the NES controller layout in front of me. I always get confused about what the buttons are called because I'm used to like the Xbox 360s.
Yeah, because they shift them up. Yeah.
But is it B on the right, A on the bottom, or A's on the right?
I think A's on the right. If it follows the GameCube.
Okay, A on the right, B on the bottom, Y up to the left, X up top.
Yeah.
Okay, so the perfect thing is that the X and Y buttons were concaved.
Oh, yeah.
And the A and B buttons were convex. And the clear advantage to that is that
that's cool.
You would sprint with the Y button. So generally speaking, you would hold down the Y buttons at all time, and then you'd flick your thumb over to the B button.
It's convex.
To jump, which is convex. So it's an easier reach.
Look at that. They're so ahead of their time.
Yeah, so holding a button down is more comfortable on a concave button, and flicking is easier on a convex button. So, that's one of the advantages that Nintendo had. And since then, I think they've gone away from it because I think their buttons have gotten smaller over time. So it's just not really, it doesn't make sense anymore to do that.
Yeah, because you can't even really notice the difference with those tiny little buttons.
Okay, on that size.
At that level, no, with this, I'm referencing the Switch.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't go with that.
Yeah, that was the great thing.
Really...
The buttons were solid. I never had a problem with them like getting loose or getting sticky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, that's one of the issues. Like if buttons got sticky over time.
My one criticism is that the start and select buttons were very mushy.
Oh yeah, they had that mushy feel. But that was the style back then. I remember.
Yeah, rubber domes, and they were like these little two Tic Tacs.
Yeah, I remember the original PlayStation did that too.
Yeah.
That rubber feel and stickiness.
But it's fine. You know why? Because pausing is for chumps. It's for the weak.
One take. Look at this shot.
But yeah, my only criticism was for the time the start and select button. But everything else about the controller solid. Really solid.
I mean,
built.
that's good. That just sounds like nitpicking at that point. Start and select. That means a great controller.
It was a nice solid plastic, but it was still light, so you can kind of toss it around. It's for children, so children tossing around, beating it up. I've never had a SNES controller fail on me. You just gotta have to let it go, man.
No, but I mean, that's cool. So you, as a kid, you had that console, that home console. Mm-hmm. Oh man, lucky.
Well, you got to play around with it at the dentist.
At the dentist, yeah, but they only had Donkey Kong. That's all I played.
That's all you need.
But I never played A Link to the Past.
But neither did I.
Hopefully, come on, Nintendo. You got the Switch, Virtual Console. That's all I just want to try that. I just want to try that game. Well, and Chrono Trigger.
But I got A Link to the Past on the Nintendo.
Oh, you do?
The Super Nintendo Classic.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, one of these days we should try it out.
Yeah, we should try it. But no Chrono Trigger on it, right? It's messed up. Come on, Virtual Console.
I think that has to do with Squarespace.
Some license.
Squarespace, sorry.
We'd like to thank Squarespace.
Squarespace is not an official sponsor. Damn. Square Enix. I think it was a licensing thing with Square Enix because they actually just within this last week, I think they just released Chrono Trigger on Steam. Or Microsoft Windows Store.
No, it was Steam. It was Steam.
One of those things, but then they didn't want to split their market share, I suppose.
I remember at the time it was SquareSoft.
It was SquareSoft at the time. But yeah, no Chrono Trigger, but there is Donkey Kong. There's for the most part.
No, there was a lot of good games on SNES.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's transition over to the next console. But first, that's I guess what you were saying.
One last quick thing.
Yeah.
You played at the dentist's office.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
It was so fun.
Yeah, the
controller. That's before I had the
specifically.
N64 and anything else too. The controller specifically felt great. I'm playing as Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. Mm-hmm. That means I played what? Donkey Kong Country 2?
Donkey Kong and Diddy?
Yeah.
That's Country 1.
Country 1?
Yeah.
What did 2 have?
Number 2 is Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong.
Oh, okay.
She has her little ponytail so she can glide while she jumps.
But yeah, that was the main game I played at the dentist's office with the SNES. And yeah, I guess that's why Sega lost. That's why Genesis and Master System lost.
Yeah, those controllers
the
were
convex
weird.
And convex buttons, baby.
Do you have any experience with Sega systems?
No, just other than my cousin visiting, letting me play his Game Gear, and he also brought his.
What in the heck is a Game Gear?
he brought his Master System.
Oh,
so I
God.
played his weird. Oh no, not his Master. His Saturn. So
Sega
that's when
Set. Is that the disc?
That's when they introduced like the 3D Sonic, and that's when it was all starting to go downhill.
Sega
before
Saturn was the
Dreamcast.
first one with the disc spinner, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
And the 3D Sonic.
Any thoughts on the Sega system controllers? Because I don't have... I've literally never touched a Sega system, so I have no idea what the controllers feel
It was
like.
also round like the SNES, but it felt even rounder, and it didn't feel as good in the hand from my experience, from my memory, if memory serves me correctly. And also, it was just black. It was straight black. The SNES, like we were talking about before, the colors were so cool.
In all honesty, I would
purple, baby.
I would have thought a stealth black controller would have appealed to you.
No, but when something like this, the SNES, purple? The contrast with gray, oh my god. Something as dull and dead as gray, and then you get the purple in with the Lakers. And
Well, it's not purple and gray anymore. These days, it's more purple and beige yellow. Nintendo did not use the best plastics in the world. It started fading over time, getting this weird like yellow grime sheen over it, and that's what all the colors. That's actually one of my fears for my my SNES Classic right now is that it's gonna start yellowing.
like a white, weird polycarbonate yellowing out.
Sun damage. Like, this never been outdoors. Why has it got sun damage? Okay, well. We're just gonna blow right past the Sega systems because we don't
have enough first-hand experience with that.
No
console.
hate to it. We just don't have any. We don't have any experience with it. So N64.
That's for me.
That's what I'm really curious about because just from an outsider looking in, I only played the N64 very, very briefly. Mm-hmm. That controller looked really stupid to me.
It was super funky.
Okay, to me, it never. Again, I was just a child with limited experience. I don't know. I never spent too much time in it. Mm-hmm. It did not feel very usable to me. So, as an owner, you tell me, what did you get used to it? Did it get good?
No, honestly, especially now with the hindsight, it was a very awkward controller. I mean, it was awesome because it introduced 3D analog stick console gaming and movement to the mainstream market, but it just felt weird. And the way I first played it, I didn't use it how you were supposed to.
What did you do?
I had this weird, I used my thumb and index finger and rested my hand on the left side of the controller.
You used the analog stick like a fight stick.
Like a fight stick. Exactly, that's perfect. When I played Mario Kart, when I played Super Mario 64.
Because, again, at the time, we were all children. This is all, like, literally everyone's first experience with 3D gaming. Uh-huh. None of us have any idea how 3D controls.
Yeah, I play like a fight stick, but come on, man.
It's the first time I heard anyone say that.
I did. It's weird too because there's that Z button underneath the controller. If you think about it, that middle portion.
Where was the Z button? Okay, real quick, describe to people what was the controller.
The controller was like a trident. You had 3 sticks, correct?
Yes.
The left side had the D-pad. The middle was the actual analog stick. And the right side had the C buttons. 4 C buttons.
Aside from the face buttons?
Aside from the face buttons.
Oh god, I don't have I have a hard time picturing that right now. I don't know what it looks like. Okay, so your right hand alone was in charge of 4 different face buttons?
Yeah.
Oh my god. It wasn't a
because
C.
then you had the A and B going diagonally.
Real quick, it wasn't a C stick like a GameCube controller.
It wasn't a stick. They're buttons.
It was 4 discrete buttons.
4 discrete yellow buttons.
Separate from the main face buttons.
Yep. And then you had your L and R triggers.
Uh-huh.
And then the Z is at the bottom.
Is the Z the trigger on the middle stick?
It's essentially a Wii remote controller. That's the Z. That's how the best way I could describe it. That Z button is kind of like the trigger on the Wii remote on your left hand.
The nunchuck.
The nunchuck side.
So imagine the center stick of the trident is the nunchuck on the Wii.
Yeah, I'm sure that N64 inspired that Wii design. Nunchuck.
To be fair to Nintendo, this was the first, analog stick controller. So they didn't have any existing data to work off. So I guess they were just trying to do whatever they thought would have worked or what people would adjust at the time.
Yeah.
You can't, hold that against them. Granted, I will say it looks funky, but the N64 controller, iconic as hell.
Super iconic.
Yeah. You can't show somebody that controller and not know where that came from.
Yeah, that gray color scheme and then blue, green, yellow, red buttons.
See, in my head, I always imagined that controller as yellow.
Oh, it was great.
No, I know they came out with like purple and yellow options.
Yeah, afterwards,
after the fact. But in my head, the iconic Trident controller is yellow.
Yeah, it was great, man. But yeah, it was
it great?
Weird.
Was it great? Or are you just getting nostalgic?
It was so weird. After the fact, with hindsight again, it just feels really weird. But then it introduced 3D gaming to the mass market.
You got to give it where credit's due.
Yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due. Yes, it felt awkward, but it did introduce, launch title Super Mario 64.
It's the forefather of all analog sticks.
Yep.
I don't think there was anything that came out before.
There were analog sticks before, but 3D gaming on the mass scale that Nintendo did it, They were the one.
The N64 was a weird generation because, like, oh, look at this new 3D fad. Everyone's making a 3D game.
Yeah.
There was a Donkey Kong 64.
3D's
There was
coming, baby.
Banjo-Kazooie. There's all this stuff. So, yeah. But, okay, here's my biggest criticism of the N64 controller. Is that in order for you to use the analog stick, you need to be in the central, spike
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
stripe.
That's why it was so
And
weird.
if you ever needed to switch the D-pad, you had to let go of the controller completely and switch it over to the left side.
Yeah, see? That's why I think games were designed differently during that N64 generation as well. They realized, all right, are we going to go full 3D? Or are we going to
2D?
split it up where this section of the game is 3D or this particular portion is 2D? It was really weird. I don't know. It was tough for the game designers back then. But it introduced something completely different at the time.
Did the N64 have a rumble pack?
They had a rumble extension, I remember.
Yeah, because there's like this weird slot at the bottom that just juts down.
Wait, no. The rumble pack was on the bottom of the... There was a weird proprietary port at the bottom of the N64
That's what I'm talking
controller.
about. Yeah,
That's what
I'm
it
talking
was.
about. It's a rumble pack.
That was the rumble pack. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what it was. So,
oh, my gosh. I forgot about that.
Imagine the SNES's slot loading games.
Yeah.
Similar slot at the bottom of a controller for a rumble pack.
Weird. There was also an accessory at the bottom of that N64 controller where you plugged it in. That accessory allowed you to connect your Game Boy Color game, the Pokemon game.
Oh, that's
you
right.
Put it in your Game Boy Color game.
That way you can play Game Boy games on the quote-unquote big screen.
And the game that, totally advertised that and utilized that the most was Pokemon Coliseum. Or not Pokemon Coliseum, Stadium. And you put in your old yellow, blue, red, gold, silver games.
These were Game Boy games.
Yeah, that was a way for you to play your Pokemon games on Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, see them in 3D, or play the game, mirror it on the big screen.
I missed out on a crazy
weird Nintendo.
Oh, you're making me regret the fact that I skipped the N64.
Like, the N64 marked the weirdness of Nintendo. Besides, the Robo, what's his name?
Rob.
That Rob guy and the Virtual Boy. Other than that, like, N64 started the weird accessories of it all with the home console.
I'd argue that the Wii has a fair competition in terms of weirdness for consoles.
But I mean,
we'll
N64 started it, and then we just like, all right, let's go nuts with this.
We'll get there, but man, that thing had
these crazy accessories, man.
It had a lot of weird peripherals. Mm-hmm. Wait, so what was the base color of the N64?
Black. It's a weird black-gray type of thing, color.
Dark
gray? But it's more so black. And then the controller itself was clearly gray. But yeah, the console itself black, and then you had the N64 logo on the front.
Yeah,
the green and blue and accent yellow.
The N64 was Nintendo's first try at making different colored controllers, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, they had like those see-through colors. Yeah,
that started a trend that we freaking love.
We love, and they gotta continue with the Switch, please.
We can't do that.
Okay. I mean, I'm just saying. I think, is that good for the N64?
That's good for the N64. Next generation, what came out first? PS4? Or sorry, damn. I'm jumping way ahead.
I mean, maybe
what was the first
high school and college got ahead of you, and you're like, screw this.
What was the first console of the next generation? Was it the PS2 or the GameCube?
Same generation, but yeah, PS2 came first.
And then the Xbox came after the GameCube.
Correct.
Okay, well, whatever. Doesn't matter.
But yeah, PS2 came first. I know that.
Fast jumped into the PS. Oh,
because the Dreamcast.
I am so sorry. We forgot the PS1.
Oh, you're right. Oh, see.
What generation was the PS1?
That's the same generation as the N64.
Okay, so next console. Let's go to the PS1.
And Master System or the Saturn.
Irrelevant. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Sega fans. Just don't play your Sonic or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Sonic Mania is on the Switch.
But Sonic, I told you I was a fan of Sonic Mania, so don't worry.
Yeah, we did not get to cover that as much as I wanted to because I was really curious about Sonic, but we're not doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the PS1 controller.
PlayStation 1.
Not my favorite.
Not your favorite.
They had the right ideas. It's the first analog stick controller that... It didn't have analog sticks.
It didn't. When it first came out, it did not have dual analog sticks.
It didn't have any analog sticks.
No analog sticks whatsoever.
Yeah, it was
just Nintendo's baby.
But I want to say it's the first modern day controller design.
Yeah, because after that, Sony just iterated on that design.
Yep, it had all the necessary face buttons, trigger buttons, and then it also had a palm grip.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what we think of a controller these days.
Yep.
No analog sticks, so they were a little behind on Nintendo on that front. Still use the D-pad.
Mm-hmm. I know it introduced analog sticks later on.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's one part I didn't know. But PS1.
But when it was released.
Did you ever have a PS1?
No.
I again borrowed a PS1.
Yeah, my cousins had the PS1 because there's this thing. There's the original PlayStation, the original box type of design, and then this PS1 was like the slim version, and there was an accessory where you could add a screen to it and play it mobile.
I did not know there was a PS1 Slim.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. It's like more round and smaller.
Okay, we got to do some research.
No,
I got to do some research. I've never heard of the PS1 Slim.
That's what they called the PS1. I remember that.
Oh, really? Well, that's news to me. But not too many thoughts on the PS1 controller. You know, it was a jumping point for modern day controllers. Wasn't the biggest fan of it because just the way it fit in your hand, it was a little tiny and a little sharp. A little creaky, actually, too. It's a little bit of a lightweight, so just...
In terms of,
any
how it was
thoughts
manufactured.
on it?
I mean, other than that, nothing.
I respect that it's the first...
It's Sony's first try.
Yeah.
Solid. On the home console.
Solid, but not my favorite.
Yeah. After Nintendo totally betrayed them, they said, all right, we're going to go and enter this console.
There was a blow-up between Sony and Nintendo?
Yep.
What was that?
It was that whole when Sony introduced a CD format, and Nintendo was trying to get into that CD format. They were trying to work together to create the next generation of consoles, with CD being the format. After the SNES, they were trying to create their own console. They already were in talks with Sony, trying to create this next gen console with CD, with the CD format, and then it just blew apart. Nintendo had their conference. I forgot which conference, but Sony wasn't even in the know.
Oh, wow.
They found out through the conference itself that, Nintendo's they're partnering with Philips or they're trying to do something else. And Sony was pissed. But luckily for us consumers, PlayStation was born.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So the N64, at the time it came out, CD technology was ready to go.
It was ready to go. That's why Sony came out with it. And
but Nintendo, that relationship fell apart and Nintendo just continued with cartridges.
Yeah, in fact, they had demos for the next Final Fantasy, which was Final Fantasy VII. It was supposed to come out on the N64. But the fact that Nintendo stuck with this proprietary cartridge,
and Squaresoft had to move over to Sony.
They're like, no, we want to go in the CD format.
Technologically, they needed it. It was necessary.
Yeah. And they're like, all right, I'm sorry, Nintendo, but you're forcing our hand. We're going to go with Sony on this.
I am learning so much today. It's pronounced Super Nintendo. I'm
That's the main thing you learned today. It's called SNES, not SNES.
It's a SNES.
I'm learning it from this book called Console Wars. It describes that whole situation and era with Nintendo versus Sega.
This podcast is not officially sponsored by Audible.
But I'm still trying to finish up that book. It's been a while.
Wait, what's the name of the book again?
Console Wars.
I think I've heard of that book.
I forget the author.
I've heard of that book. I need it.
It's a good book.
That. Okay.
It's a fun history lesson with Sega and Nintendo and how console gaming as we know it started.
Nice. Okay, so we're pretty much a wrap on PS1.
Yeah, with that generation. Sure. Let's move on to the next gen.
Okay, so next generation, first big console out was the Sony PlayStation 2.
Yes.
And
hold on. The Dreamcast came before the PlayStation 2.
We're blowing past Sega.
They introduced the stick again. Unfortunately for them, they died. I believe, in my opinion, I had the Dreamcast as a kid.
You did have the Dreamcast.
I had the
okay,
Dreamcast.
So never mind. We can talk about it then. I have zero experience with anything Sega. So go ahead.
This thing was crazier than Nintendo's N64
Take
controller.
the podium, Ray. Do it.
The weird thing is the cord came from the bottom.
Oh, God.
But you had to fold in from the bottom of the controller into the back of the controller. And there was a spot where you could clasp the wire to the back end of the controller.
There's a wire clip.
Yeah. Built into the controller, you clip it so the wire goes in front of you. But the crazier thing was this weird proprietary slot for this Sega Dreamcast controller. It was called a VMU. It acted as your memory card. You slot it into the controller.
Memory card, so as in your saves. Your game saves.
Correct. And it also, for some games, you could use it as like a Tamagotchi type of thing or a Pokemon Go type of thing as you know it. It was super weird, even weirder than Nintendo.
Here's the real question. Yeah. Did it have a rumble pack?
I don't remember it rumbling. But yeah, other than that, the controller felt weird. It was not good at all. It had left and right triggers, but it felt bad. It wasn't good.
It looked awful.
It looked awful. It wasn't good. However, it had good games. It just didn't resonate with the market and the consumers, and PS2 destroyed it, the year after Sega died. In terms of the console space, they left it and just started publishing games from there.
R.I.P.
But yeah, next generation, PS2 controller.
PS2 controller.
And that generation.
That was a big step for modern day controllers. Whether or not it was the first to have analog sticks for PlayStation, whatever, blow past that.
How are we supposed to know? We'll never
know. I don't know. But the way they did it, sticks, awesome. It was a convex stick, and then 2 analog sticks that are symmetrical down at the bottom.
Yep, fine rubber.
It was a really good
No,
rubber.
I'm not trying to be sarcastic. It was fine rubber.
This podcast is not sponsored by Trojan.
What?
Yeah, so the 2 analog sticks left and right are both, symmetrical. Generally speaking, the controller design was still the same as the PS1 with the addition of those 2 analog sticks.
Yeah, it essentially felt the same, yeah.
Yeah, but the build quality was way
that's where you
way
improve, baby.
better.
Iterate, baby.
They made the palm grips a little bigger. They fit my hands a little better. And it was a little more ergonomic. There's more, contour to the hand.
The controller launched as a black controller.
Yep, freaking clean.
Freaking clean matte black. It's not matte, but you know what I mean.
And we didn't cover this talking about the PS1 face buttons.
Yeah.
I like Sony's iconic buttons.
The X square circle triangle.
Yes.
And the color scheme that goes with each
Yes.
button.
Yeah, I loved all that stuff. One giant flaw without letters labeling the buttons.
Yeah.
Whenever you're reading game facts, it's hard for people to write the game tutorials.
Are you talking about the website Game Facts?
Yeah, Game Facts.
Good times. Oh man, that's our generation.
People
baby.
writing game facts for PlayStation had the hardest time because they always had to manually input a square, double brackets, an O, a triangle.
Oh man, that website, I used so much of it as a kid.
You can't hold that against Sony. It's just a little piece of my personal life that I kind of.
We hold it close to our hearts, and they were just trying to differentiate themselves from Nintendo's.
And you know what? It's iconic now. They're never gonna go away, and they shouldn't. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's their iconic scheme.
But the face buttons are all convex, so they all bump outwards.
Yeah,
not a big deal, but noted. But D-pad. The D-pad is not the greatest.
Oh, here we go.
We're bringing back the D-pad.
Because I think the D-pad feels great.
Oh!
I'm serious.
Okay.
I just wanted to get to this. I was talking about the, not as good as the SNES, but that's what I wanted to get.
Oh, so when I was talking about the PS,
I was holding it back.
You were getting triggered.
I was like, I'm going to hold this content about 20, 30 minutes in.
Okay. Well, anyways, the D-pad, they were all, every direction was slightly tilted inwards. And then there was a cross of plastic material that broke the center away.
Okay.
So it wasn't a solid T. It still pivoted, but it didn't pivot quite as much just because the way it's designed. Because again, Nintendo owned the patent to a T. So that was my problem with it. Is that it just wasn't as good. It was functional.
It was functional.
I will give you that. It's fine. Functional.
No, I liked how they were separated.
Why?
I liked how, if I want to preface with the PS2, when I did use the D-pad, a lot of the times I was just playing Dragon Ball Z Budokai, the Budokai series, so it felt good just using that.
That's the only reason. One last really big thing about the D-pad on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Even though the buttons were separated, they weren't discrete buttons. That's a really big point. It was still one solid piece of plastic that pivoted back and forth. It just wasn't as solid. It wasn't a streamlined T like it should have been. But unfortunately, legally they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But you liked it.
I liked it because I just used when you're playing that Dragon Ball game.
You're playing Budokai 3.
Budokai 3,
tap
2 and 1.
Tap X to dodge.
You tap X to dodge. You double tap towards your opponent to dash towards them. It felt good.
But it felt good. That's all you got.
Yeah.
You're not going to give me any hard data on why it's better?
No, it sucks because Nintendo had the patent on that. But in terms of, I liked how the buttons were separated in that manner.
Yeah.
Instead of a traditional T D-pad, iconic look from Super Nintendo.
Are you
NES.
telling me that you prefer it separated?
I prefer the buttons separated because I haven't had substantial amount of time and experience with the NES and SNES.
Okay, that just might be due to the way we grew up then.
Yeah, because like I said, I didn't get a chance.
It's okay, Ray. It's okay. I don't hold it against you. You didn't know any better.
But because I like the PS4 D-pad now.
Okay, no,
compared to the
You know what? I will say it's completely functional.
Yeah,
it's not the best for me.
Oh yeah, because we're not talking the best. I'm just saying I liked it.
Okay.
I don't have to have it.
Yeah. So solid controller built really well, which is not the same story for the PS3.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm freaking grinding my teeth right now because the PS3 controller just so.
Luckily for me, for that generation, I was a 360 kid, so I barely had any time to play with the PS3 besides The Last of Us. So.
And we will get on to that. So but okay, that's a wrap on PS2.
Wrap on PS2. What do you want to do next? Xbox, GameCube?
Let's just do chronological order. Let's do GameCube.
All right, GameCube.
I don't. Oh, well, sorry. Of course, I know the GameCube controller. It's the Melee controller. Super Smash Brothers Melee.
Super Smash Brothers controller because you're still using it for Smash 4.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a Smash controller. That's what it is.
But when we're talking strict, direct, fast-paced inputs, we're talking Melee.
You're talking Melee. But Smash 4 kids use. That's all they use too. They're not using the Wii U controller.
I don't know if this is fair to say Nintendo, but I want to say the GameCube controller was Nintendo's iteration at Sony's design
Yes.
for the modern day controller.
For the modern, yep.
But they had their own spin on it.
Yeah, especially coming off the N64 is definitely an iteration on someone else's controller.
And when it comes to the GameCube, in this time of our life, you were much more into Nintendo than I was, so I'm going to let you describe it.
Yeah, I was. Because those were my first consoles. Nintendo 64 and the Nintendo GameCube. And
you had a GameCube.
And handhelds, yeah. I had the GameCube before I had the PS2, and the PS2 was technically my brother's. So
okay. Let's just make this clear for you and for the audience. Between the SNES and the PS2, I essentially had a dark age where I didn't have access to playing video games.
The darkest of ages.
Just, due to like the nature of my life, I just couldn't. I didn't have gaming consoles between the SNES and the PS2. It got to a certain point on the PS2 where I just made my own commitment. That's why I got back into gaming.
Yeah.
But between that, I don't have much experience. That's why I kept saying N64 borrowed, GameCube borrowed for a little bit, PS1 borrowed.
Yeah. No, it makes sense because I like the analog stick on the left side, the main analog stick on the left side of the GameCube. That felt good. It had so many multi-directions besides just the traditional 4.
Here's the thing.
To give you that 8.
Yeah, okay, so the GameCube's controller is an octagon in terms of pivot. Is it an actual analog stick, or is it 8 discrete directions?
That I'm not sure. But I know.
Because technically speaking, if it's 8 discrete directions, it's not an analog stick. Because analog has infinite directions.
Yeah, but it has those 8 notches to give you those pivots. Because I know in Melee, wave dashing,
and that's the important thing for Melee.
Yeah, it gives you those notches.
That's why if you're using any controller besides a GameCube controller to play any Smash game, you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
And for a while, I argue with you because.
Yeah, because I remember we were playing Smash 4 on.
We were doing this
360 controller. Come on, man.
We were doing this little hack on PC because that was the only way we could play. But we had Sprawl.
Oh, Brawl. Sorry,
on
Brawl.
the PC, and the only controls we had access to was a bunch of 360 controllers.
You thought I was just jawning, making excuses.
No, dude, do not try to spin this, okay? I offered you the wireless controller. Because at
Which wireless controller?
The wireless 360 controllers. Because I had 2 wireless 360 controllers and 2 wired controllers.
Yeah.
I was trying to be a good host. I was giving you the wireless controllers because that way you can sit comfortably and not have to worry about your position.
You want the lag input. You want the input lag.
No,
you're trying to bring me down.
At the time, I didn't care about the lag input. I just wanted you to be most comfortable. And then you're like, no. You take the wireless controller. It's your house, whatever. You're trying to sell it to me like you're trying to be a good guest. That's a load of crap. You wanted the less input lag.
You're damn right.
It never crossed my mind, but it definitely crossed your mind.
I wanted the better latency. I wanted to prove myself that I can play some Smash.
Here's the thing. I had nothing to prove. I am terrible at Super Smash Brothers. I was just trying to figure out what would be most comfortable for you. And you try to just reverse it back at me. No, I'm a good guess. No, but the real reason is because you wanted the better input lag.
That's right. But it doesn't matter. It wasn't a GameCube controller. It wasn't genuine.
Anyways,
still fun.
Not the ideal method for Smash.
What's the ideal method?
So back to the GameCube controller.
The other thing, the triggers felt good. In terms of having the ability to have those different levels of input.
They weren't buttons, they were like a whole actuating range.
It was essentially an actuator. You had that great range with the triggers, left and right. There wasn't like an R1, R2 like the PlayStation 2 controllers. There's just 2 triggers that felt good with your hands.
And that's what the PS2 controller was missing, is there wasn't like a range of movement in it. It was just a click.
Just one button.
It wasn't the equivalent of, say, like a driving pedal.
Yes,
where there's, discrete movements back and forth.
But it's perfect for like racing games.
Yep. So the GameCube controller, okay, so analog stick on the left, whether or not it's analog, we'll see. The D-pad slightly downwards.
Yes, I was not a fan of the D-pad. It was tiny.
Yes, very tiny.
In terms of input, it felt good. Like you felt like, yes, I'm going left, right, up, down. It felt good, but it was so tiny. It just did not feel right.
I can't think of a single GameCube game that used the D-pad.
And the D-pad was on the bottom portion, and the analog stick was on the top left, with the yellow C stick on the bottom right.
They changed the C buttons to C stick on the GameCube.
Yeah.
So the D-pad and the C sticks were symmetrical on the lower end of the controller. Face buttons. This is where it gets weird.
Yeah, that's when you're like, what?
It's ideal for Smash. It's weird for everything else.
Yeah, they're just trying to create an iconic look or something.
Gigantic A button.
Huge.
B button tiny and at a weird angle.
It felt thick. It was thicker. The red B button was thicker than the more.
And it's at the bottom left.
More flush green A button.
Yeah, so it wasn't like an up, down, left, right
It was
base button.
not.
It was a center A button, a bottom left corner
Yeah,
B button.
and then the Y and X buttons were like wrapping around the A button.
Yeah,
It was-
on the top and to the right.
yeah.
And it was like these weird little pellets. It wasn't a button. It was
It was a round. It was like a weird wrap.
yeah. So the main point is that A button's like where your finger rests,
Yeah, that was the main button.
and everything else was secondary to that.
And then the Z button was above the right trigger.
Yes.
It was weird.
Yeah, but
Purple Z button.
there was a second trigger button, but only on the right side. There wasn't a
only on
second
the right
trigger on the left
side.
side. So strange.
And sometimes the Z button felt weird. It wasn't always the same. Sometimes it's clicky.
Sometimes it's
Sometimes
not.
just
Mushy.
mushy. It's weird. It depends. It's all on the luck of the draw which control when you buy the controller.
But it was built very well.
Built very well.
Solid.
It's one of the Nintendo, in my opinion, Nintendo's best controllers. Besides, unfortunately, the C stick. That's where and the D-pad. That's where I frown upon.
Right, because the C stick is definitely not analog.
Super tiny too.
Super tiny, unusable, really. And that's why you don't. Well, different reasons, but you don't see shooters on.
You don't see shooters on that thing.
because you can't aim with it.
Besides, the game I think it was called 13. It was like cell shaded.
13 was on the GameCube.
It was a cell. Yeah, eventually I believe it was brought to the GameCube.
Yeah, 13 as in the Roman numeral 13.
Yeah.
that was definitely on the PS2.
Okay.
That was a really fun game.
The cell shaded shooter.
Yep.
Yep. That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It felt so weird on the GameCube because that C stick was bad. It was so tiny. And
Yeah, if somebody's at a certain angle, you can't aim to them because it's 8 directional.
But yeah, other than that, luckily for Nintendo, they didn't really have to utilize the C stick that much. So that controller for the GameCube felt
I
good.
wouldn't say it was luck. I would say game developers had to make their game not utilize the
Yeah,
C-stick because
and
it's
then-
unusable.
And then the bread and butter of Nintendo, the first party unique games, they didn't really utilize the C stick that much.
No.
To the point where
Was the GameCube Wind Waker for Zelda?
yeah, you had to use the C stick, but it didn't feel bad. That's the thing with Nintendo. They were
Keyword for the C-stick that describes everything, I would say serviceable.
it was serviceable, especially when you played on a first party Nintendo game
Yeah.
because they understand their faults, their weaknesses and strengths, and they improve upon what they have.
Yeah. So main point is GameCube controller, perfect for Smash.
Perfect for Smash.
For everything else.
But I like the original color, that indigo. Whew.
Purple.
Yeah.
So purple was the main GameCube color.
And then they came out with black and like orange and some other colors.
Yeah.
It was
The
good.
GameCube was fun. It was funky though.
And then it introduced the first best wireless controller for the home console, the Wavebird GameCube controller.
I'm trying to remember what the Wavebird looked like.
It's the same thing as the GameCube controller, except
it's
the
wireless.
bottom portion in the middle had this
Bulge.
extruded portion
Uh-huh.
because it had to fit like the wireless mechanics
Yeah.
and the battery at the bottom. But other than that, it felt like a normal GameCube controller.
Oh.
So it was so awesome.
Was it?
Yeah, you plug in your port with the device that allows you to connect your Wavebird, and that was it. You had multiple channels to connect to, and that was it. The Wavebird was one of the best wireless controllers of all time before it became the
standard.
status quo and standard.
For wireless. PC gamers would disagree, but whatever.
I'm talking about home console, man.
yeah, fair enough.
PC gamers was the best wireless controller.
Well, if you're sitting at a PC playing games in front of your computer, you shouldn't be using wireless.
That's a moot point then.
Yeah.
I'm talking about wireless. You're just on your couch, just playing an RPG or something.
Fair
playing
enough.
Tales of Symphonia.
Yeah, you don't need a wireless controller playing PC. What
Yeah.
matters on PC is input lag. And no matter what people say, there is an input lag difference between wired and Bluetooth.
No, there is.
Yep.
That's why it depends on the game you play.
Of course.
Whether it matters or not.
Yeah, so that's a wrap on the GameCube controller.
GameCube, PS2,
And here-
Xbox. Here we go.
This is where we get on the big one.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no. I don't want to say it's the big one. I would say 360 is the big one. But Xbox controller, little bit of an iterative change on the modern controller. This is a sticking point with me because a lot of people think that the Xbox layout for sticks is perfect. I don't like it.
It emulates the GameCube where the left stick is at the top left portion and the right stick is on the bottom right.
Okay, so for to describe to listeners, nothing too crazy layout-wise. The difference is that the left analog stick is symmetrical with the face buttons,
Yeah.
and the right analog stick is symmetrical with the D-pad down low. I do not like asymmetry between my left stick and my right stick. And people will say that, that having the left stick up in the neutral position is the best position because it's the most comfortable.
Yeah.
But to me, the type of games I like to play that are input heavy, what's most comfortable is not the best in terms of inputting.
Yeah.
I feel like having the left stick up high, it makes me harder to do certain back and forth movements. So say like I'm playing a certain game for in order to do a certain move, I have to do a quick down and then up. it's hard to do that in that neutral position, have your thumb up, because you have to pull the analog stick back and then pull it back up. Whereas if it's down lower, like on the PS2 controller, you just flick up and down. It's perfect. Left, right, up, down. My thumb knows where it is. It's a very weird motion to have your thumb in the neutral position trying to pull backwards. That's what I don't like about the Xbox original controller.
That's the thing, though. As a kid, I was so used to the GameCube, and then Xbox felt okay with me because I was so used to the GameCube controller.
Yeah, and the big thing about the Xbox was that it was where Halo first came out.
Yeah.
And Halo defined shooters on consoles.
Yep. Brought FPS to the mainstream for the home console market.
And having the stick in the neutral position for your left hand is fine because you're not typically moving backwards that much in a shooter. And the reason that the right stick stayed where it was is that it's in the position where it's easier to aim.
Yeah.
You can get more exact inputs.
It's like the main input.
Yeah, I want more exact inputs in both sticks.
Okay.
That's why I like Sony's layout where the D-pad is in the neutral position and the stick is in the lower position where you can get better, more accurate movements.
But for a lot of people, they were just, whatever the control they were given, they got used to it, and at the end of the day, that's what they were used to.
And in all honesty, it's kind of a use case scenario because a lot of people play games to relax.
Yeah.
I kind of play games for an adrenaline.
Woo!
So if I'm playing a game, I'm not relaxed. I don't want my fingers to be in a neutral position. I want to be in the position where I can do my inputs most accurately and most quickly.
Yeah. But you remember that original Xbox controller, right? The Duke? It was ginormous.
I don't remember it.
It was huge. There's a huge Xbox logo in the middle. It was just a huge controller.
I think I might have only seen the later iterations of the Xbox controller because I don't know what you're talking about.
Because, then the
I'm learning so much today.
The next version was the nicer, smaller version of that controller. But yeah, what did the Xbox... Let's just run through the Xbox real quick. It had the traditional button layout, right? Trigger, left trigger, right trigger, left stick, right stick, D-pad. Wasn't the best D-pad. I thought it was even worse than the GameCube controller.
I don't remember what the Xbox D-pad looked like.
I think it was similar. It was similar to the Xbox 360.
Oh, so it was awful.
Yeah. You had your traditional A, B, X, Y, and then these two buttons.
The silver and black button.
Silver and black, or white and black, or whatever, because they didn't have a secondary trigger button.
Oh, it didn't.
You just had the left and right, and then the black and white buttons were the secondary.
That played a very key role
in
the game that I like to play on the Xbox.
Yeah, well.
And it's a very, very niche deal.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how much I want to get into it. It's weird. And that game that I played the most on Xbox, embarrassingly, admittedly, not the biggest game.
Fusion Frenzy.
No. The name of the game was Enter the Matrix.
Oh no, man!
It was the movie tie-in game for The Matrix Reloaded.
Man, that's when movie tie-ins were huge.
Where you don't get to play as Neo, you get to play as Ghost and Niobe, and you probably don't know who they are because you never saw The Matrix Reloaded.
I know Naomi.
Niobe.
Oh no, sorry.
Niobe. Nope. No spoilers. Anyways, they're minor characters in the later Matrix films, but.
I'm thinking of Trinity.
Oh, yeah. Nah, she doesn't matter. It's just minor. Whatever. No. Niobe and Ghost. So those two buttons, they were used for. I don't remember what the two main triggers were used for, but those two weird little black and silver buttons at the bottom.
Like a slow motion thing or what?
No, what they were is they were used as how you fired your guns in the Matrix.
Kidding?
Yes.
Like to toggle between the fire rate or what?
No, to actually fire.
Oh, my. There's triggers on that controller. Come on.
I think the triggers were used to activate your slow motion Matrix moves.
What? It should be like the opposite.
So I think the black button was used to put you in third person aim mode.
Oh my god.
And then you use the left analog stick to aim, and then you use the silver button to actually shoot.
Oh my gosh. You know what they did? They designed this game before they knew the Xbox controller and all the other controllers had 3D input.
Well, here's the thing. I think Enter the Matrix came out after Halo.
Oh, so they were just bad. Okay.
It was just a bad game.
They were just bad. Okay.
But for some reason, I really liked playing that game. I don't know why. Here's the thing. I actually played that game before I watched any of the Matrix movies.
And you still wanted to watch the movies after that video game.
The game was really good to me. I don't know why. Can't explain it.
That's the beauty of childhood. And nostalgia.
Yeah,
oh, man,
you're stupid. You're stupid, but you don't know it.
But ignorance is bliss.
That's my story with those two weird buttons. In any other game, they probably weren't utilized because they were useless.
Yeah, the black and white, they were just second. I think in Halo they were used as like the flashlight button.
Yes, that's exactly what it was used for.
Right?
The silver was the flashlight button, which
See?
makes sense. It's bright. Yeah,
exactly. Just one of those type of features in the game.
Yeah, and that's actually why Halo is such a defining game for the gaming world in general. Is because it was the decided game on how shooters are gonna work on consoles. Yep. Left stick movement, right stick aim. There are certain people to this day that'll still argue that's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Whatever.
Yeah.
It just. I'm definitely gonna be on the side of mouse and keyboard is a better control method for shooters specifically. But for certain people on a controller, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't click.
But I mean, that's how it originated. PC shooters, right? Mouse and keyboard. You had all that fine-tuned control. That's how they played the game.
Yep.
But I mean, with shooters on the console, it just felt comfortable for a lot of gamers after Halo came out. They're just trying to relax. And they're not trying to be as competitive as those PC gamers. Because I know a lot of the times when those shooters came out, they didn't really focus a lot on story. I mean, they had Doom and Wolfenstein. But other than that, it was a lot of arena shooters, correct?
Yes.
Like Quake and what was the other
Unreal
name?
Tournament.
Unreal Tournament.
Yep.
So with a lot of...
And obviously, we can't forget about Counter-Strike.
And Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike's still huge now.
Oh, yeah, that's the big one.
That goes without saying, really.
Yeah, but with a lot of people now with FPS shooters, there's just a lot of campaign shooting.
Yeah.
You didn't have super fine-tuned controls. You're playing wireless. You're just trying to enjoy the campaign, the story. You're playing your shooter... Because when you go to that multiplayer, it gets really hardcore and you just get pissed off.
Yeah, and I know we did tease about what I consider the worst D-pad of all time. And the Xbox did have a little bit of that. But that's not what sticks in my mind. What sticks in my mind is the 360 controller.
It was the worst to me,
Yep, but we will get into that next time. Because I think that's actually a wrap today. We personally think that ending on the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2 generation, that's a good stopping point for this week because we feel like that's what the pre-modern age of gaming for people our age is. That's what we would consider as pre-modern.
It's like up to high school at least.
Yeah,
man.
And that might change for people of different age groups, but that's kind of our personal experience. So
that's ours.
We're going to wrap it up there, and next week we will hit what we consider the modern age of gaming.
What everyone's playing today,
Yep, so the next thing is going to be the Wii, the PS3, and the Xbox 360 controllers.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes from there, but that's probably going to be a wrap for this week. My name is Khan.
This is Ray.
And that is a wrap on episode 7. 7?
Yep.
Is it really episode 7?
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Siete. That's 7, baby.
We made it. You know what? 7's a big number for me because that is the age where my parents first let me stay at home alone. So we're growing up, guys.
That's a lucky number, too, right?
Yeah, lucky
Sevens,
number
baby.
7. So that is a wrap on this week. We will catch you next time.
We'll catch you on the next one. Please follow us on Twitter at PT Nerds, Instagram at PT Nerds.
Have we posted anything to Instagram?
And on SoundCloud. SoundCloud.com/PT Nerds. We're there, baby.
Yep. Well, we are live there, actually. Episodes 1, 2, 3 is there. You can catch us now, which doesn't matter if you're listening up to this point. But from our perspective, this is the first episode that we've recorded where, our first 3 episodes are in the wild.
Yeah, we hope this thing keeps going because we're having a good time. At least I am.
Yeah.
All right, episode 7 is the last.
We'll catch you next time, maybe.
All right,
it might just be Ray.
Have a good one.